Hi everyone, Mindhacker here with a Clash of Clans video. Today we'll take a deep dive into one of the most powerful strategies in the game, Zap Lalo. I'll show you from the pros and cons of the strategy to what to look for when planning a Zap Lalo attack. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Before getting into the guide itself, I want to show you the advantages and disadvantages of this strategy just to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. As for the advantages, this strategy is very powerful and very flexible because you have a lot of troops to work with, right? It's also easier than most variants of Lalo strategies. I would say it's easier than Queen Charge Lalo or Sui Lalo. And in terms of the equipment, I would say this is on the F2P friendly side because in my opinion you only need one epic equipment to use this strategy effectively. As for the disadvantages, one of the trademark properties of Lalo strategies is that they are so difficult, and this strategy is no different. Also, another trademark property of Lalo is that it requires some micromanagement, and you don't have a lot of spells to work with after the setup, which are the Zap spells and the Earthquake spell. In order to use a strategy, you need to know why you bring certain troops in your army, so let's break down the army to do just that. We're going to take a look at the Town Hall 16 army, but the concepts I'm introducing can still be applied to lower Town Hall levels. Note that you can always make adjustments to your army to fit your needs and the bases you're attacking. Most armies consist of three main parts: the supporting troops, the main force, in this case the Lalo, and the cleanup. One thing to keep in mind is that their roles are rather superficial. Any troops that you didn't use for certain parts of the attack can be used for the other two parts, so don't be too fixated on the roles of the troops. There are a few troops I would like to highlight here. First of all are the archers and goblins. The main role is to tank the mortars when you use the flame flinger, but they can also be used to snipe defending heroes near the outside in combination with your headhunters. Obviously, if you find space to snipe one building or two of them, then you can also do that. You can even use them for funneling in some cases. Talking about funneling, there are so many ways to do that with this army, from a baby dragon to a wizard to sneaky goblins, etc, etc. Just make sure to choose the right one and do it at the right moment. As for the Lalo, it's pretty straightforward, just the lava hounds and balloons. We'll get into details later. Lastly, we have troops to clean up the attack. Again, straightforward. I don't think I need to explain this, just use whatever troops you have left, or swap them, your choice. As for CC troops, spells, siege machines, here's a good summary for you. And here's one for hero equipment as well. Now that you've known more about the army, let's get to planning. So, what do you want to look for when making the plan? Here's the list of targets that I look for when I do my attacks. First of all, I look for a town hall, then the sweepers, then the clan castle, then the defending archer queen and royal champion. After all of that, I finally look for spots with good zap value in the base, and I'll plan the attack around those details. In detail, if the town hall is in the middle, I'll use the battle blip to get it. Otherwise, I'll consider using other siege machines at my disposal depending on the bases. Here's a rule that I follow and can basically crack 90% of the bases out there. If you use the flame flinger, you should zap out any defenses that can hinder its progress, like the expos or the monolith. If not, then the Sui and the Lalo should be built around the zap value. In order to crack the remaining 10%, you need to have enough experience to do so. You need to know the rules enough in order to break them after all. Make sure that your Lalo only has to do it at most one air targeting hero. That means either your Zap or your Sui has to take care of the other one. The reason why I tell you to look for the clan castle is to just be aware of it. I do recommend having your Sui deal with the defending CC troops, but you can still send your Lalo without dealing with them beforehand. Just be very cautious when you do that. After making a, hopefully, solid plan, it's time to put it to use. There's not much I want to say in this section, so here's a few tips for you. Make sure to funnel Yusui properly. Only send at most half to 2/3 of your Lalo on your initial force, except for emergency cases. The remaining force is used to get rid of outside defenses and support the back-end push. If you use the blimp to get to Town Hall, always use the rage spell for it, unless the town is very isolated. Always try to send a Lalo from behind the sweepers if possible. If you use the Flame Flinger deployed first, then use the Zap Quake to save time. It's okay to take your time when using the Flame Flinger to make sure it's safe before starting other phases, but you should only spend 1 minute maximum, otherwise you'll risk time failing. Remember to send headhunters in the Warden ability to protect them as they tread to their base. Now that you've known everything you need, let's jump into some example attacks where I analyze some of my attacks. I recommend pausing the video to make your own plan before watching the attack. This is the first base. It is an anti-sweep base with 4 visible quadrants. The tower isn't in the middle, so I decided to go with the Flame Flinger. The CC is in the middle, and each side compartment has 1 air targeting hero. This base has 2 good spots for the Flame Flinger, the Scattershot compartment and the Eagle. The Scattershot compartment is better since there are no expos, and if I send my king to the Eagle, he can potentially get the expos as well as luring out the CC if there's any. If you consider carefully, if I can take out the poison spell tower, my king will have a much better chance of taking the entire section out, as there would be no poison that would slow down my king. I decided to send my queen to the side multi-inferno tower compartment, since she could also reach an air targeting hero from that compartment, as well as forming a very solid pathing for the Lalo. For this base, the tower compartment is good for Lalo. How can I tell? As you can see, if I shave off this section, the defenses make a very good pathing for the Town Hall. And by starting the Lalo into the Town Hall compartment, I also went from behind the sweepers, so they were pretty much useless. In this attack I had really poor management of my headhunters. I should have sent 2 for the king and queen, and the remaining 2 in the warden ability to get the RC. As I confirmed that the Town Hall went down, I decided to send the RC from the top side to clear those defenses out, and everything collapsed onto the Scattershot compartment. The attack ended with run free spell to spare. Here's the second attack. The Town Hall is in the middle this time, so using the blimp is in order. The base also has many good spots to zap out, but I decided to go with a Scattershot, an Expo, and a single Inferno Tower. Then I decided to use the suit to take out the air artillery and both air targeting heroes on the way. I unfortunately completely whiffed the timing to deploy the Ice Golem to distract the Expo, so my queen ended up taking a lot more damage than I wanted. But other than that, the suit went perfectly. The king took the defending queen through the wall, the offensive queen took the air artillery, and it's time for the Lalo. Unlike the last attack, I went for a super wide entry with my Lalo, exhausting almost 2/3 of my Lalo. But there weren't that many outside defenses, so that decision did not affect the attack negatively. The blimp secured the Town Hall with the rage spell, and I dropped it so that the Lalo could utilize it as well. The backend was quickly overwhelmed by the remaining portion of the Lalo, as the king, despite being the best air defense in the game, stood hopelessly awaiting his demise. The final attack I'm going to show is a war attack I did a few days ago. Again, with the tower in the middle, I went with the blimp. This base has a very obvious spot to zap out, consisting of the Eagle, Monolith, Expo, and Invis Spell Tower. I tried to go for the second Expo as well, and technically I could have gotten it, but I misplaced the Zap buff. And the suit went well at first until the king missed the entry, so I used the second super wall breaker to make him re-enter the base. He also pulled out the defending CC, so I didn't have to deal with them in the middle of my Lalo. Meanwhile, the queen managed to take down his scatter shot. As the pathing is better set up from the bottom side, I started the Lalo from 6, with the blip to get the town hall. I used the RC with the Lalo so that she could deal with the dragons. The blip secured the town hall, but the explosion took a lot of balloons down as well. But I still had more Lalo to send in and the RC ability still available to use. The remaining few defenses were quickly taken down and another triple with Zap Lalo. I would love to show replays in which I used other siege machines, but I don't have any right now, and I don't want the video to be too long. If you are a good visual learner and have an actually good attention span, you can watch Star's Legend League attacks that he posts every day on his YouTube channel. I myself got better from watching his attacks, so I can guarantee that they are good materials. That's all I have for this video. I hope you guys have learned something from this. If you want some tips and tricks that will help your attacks overall, you can watch this video on the screen right here.